Right now, social media is buzzing with the astronomer's Andy Byron affair. But behind the hashtags, memes, and viral gossip is a real woman whose world was just shattered, blindsided, betrayed, grieving and hurting in real life while trying to heal. Meanwhile, strangers dissect her story and the internet twists turn the reality into rumors. On this Talk It Out Tuesday, we are flipping the script. What does it really feel like to be the one left behind? How do you support someone living through betrayal, especially if the internet thinks it's just a yummy cup of tea?
Welcome to Talk It Out Tuesday, where it's just me and Deana, two friends with real stories, big questions, and honest conversations. No guests, no filters, just us unpacking life, healing, and the things that matter most. Welcome to Surviving Toxic Relationships. Hey, Deana, this will be an interesting topic.
Absolutely, yeah. And you and I both have felt that pain of betrayal, Lizzie, so this is not a new subject for us. This is devastating. And I know even for me, I couldn't stop reading it. And I think it's because it was such a gut punch of remembrance of when I was betrayed, when you were betrayed, when we saw the person that we love picking and choosing and chasing and wooing and being physically with another woman. And it is nauseating.
Well, what makes it really nauseating and I think very, very, very difficult, because no matter what, it's difficult for the victim, as you and I both understand, is the fact that everybody in the world knows it.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
particular case, you cannot open any social media. You can't go a day on the news right now without something being brought up. And you can't help but just think of the wife who is also public display without her choice. And this is a story that people could research forever. And it is a lot like what we went through. And I think of our story with Jane, how Rex was leading a double life for 10 months before the truth came out. There is that feeling of betrayal, but also you get this fog of what was real in the time that we were together. How long has this betrayal been going on? When he's held me and told me he's loved me, that he can't live without me, going to our children's stuff together, what was real? And it's a hard one to really wrap your head around.
It is. And I know you and I have talked about this before, Lizzie, and you said you were able to compartmentalize where some things in your relationship still felt like they were truly good times and they were truly real. And you kind of held on to those by saying, yes, this is real. Yes, this was true. Yes, this happened. But I do feel like there were some times that were still real. And then for me, the way I processed it was my entire 27 years was a complete lie. So it's funny how we both processed it differently, but I think that's good for our audience to know that whether you look back on the relationship and say, my entire relationship was a complete lie, every moment, every kiss, every bouquet of flowers, every compliment, all of it was BS because this guy possibly was in a relationship and lying to me during any of those moments. Or if you're the type that says, yes, I'm going to deal with the reality and the times that I know that were horrible and the things that he did and things he shouldn't have done, but I still look back and have a little fondness for the ways that he treated me and the things that he did that were right. And I still have some of those good memories. So neither way is a wrong way to look at it. It's just the way that we tend to process our own pain.
And I think there's no timeline, obviously, when you're trying to deal through your pain, the grief, the stages of it all. You know, you go through a huge cycle of emotions. And then to top it off, you think how everybody knows it now, which makes it even worse. I remember when everything was exposed with Jane, I was very ashamed. People were like, well, how could you not know? So you kind of feel judged with your shame. So now you're dealing with more emotions and you wonder who all knew? Who all knew?
Yeah, it's not only betrayal like you said, but it's humiliating. It's embarrassing. And that's why you and I are both just kind of dumbfounded that this poor woman had to have her betrayal on public display with the same picture being shown over and over and over and over again of this man with his arms wrapped around his coworker and wrapped right there, by the way, right on her chest. So there's no question. And seeing that, at least you and I, we had our privacy. It happened to us, but we didn't have to tell anybody. Nobody that we knew necessarily
Right.
knew. Although I know there's a question mark, like, did some people know?
Yeah. And on the other side, I think of what you and I went through with it being more private. They're able to gaslight or try to get themselves out of it or say, hey, it wasn't what you think it was or whatever. Well, in this situation, Andy can't deny it. I mean, it's everybody saw it. So there's no gaslighting or denial or anything that he could share at this point. So that's the only positive thing that I could think of in this scenario versus some of ours is the fact that sometimes we hear more webs of lies and deceit being woven around us in the midst of our pain. And then you walk away feeling more confused or more broken. No matter what, it's ugly. And I think it's just really ugly to think that everybody sees it. There's just no hiding it. And it's there in
And
internet
everybody
world
gets to have an
forever.
opinion. Everybody gets to have an opinion about your private life. Like, how awful is that? That the whole
Mhm.
world gets to have an opinion. It's on display for everybody to see. But I agree with you with the gaslighting. That's a really great point because I can't tell you how many times that I felt something deep in my gut was off and he was home late multiple times in a row or
Mhm.
whatever. But the explanation just came out squeaky clean and I still felt completely sick to my stomach that something was off, but I could not prove it. What do you do then? You can't do anything unless you decide just to leave on a hunch. But then
Yeah,
later on, are you going to question yourself? Are you going to be upset at yourself? Are you going to wonder about it? So, yeah, so this was definitely open and shut, not only for her, but also for her lawyers.
right. Yeah.
It's an easy case to just file for divorce and get her half of everything.
And I think you and I both were scrolling to hear just to read what other people's comments were because everybody knows everything. They all have their 2 cents they're putting in, and a lot of them, some of them were just awful in this particular circumstance, or even laughing, saying, well, now I guess she'll go away with everything kind of thing. But that could still cut really deep because you're still trying to grieve the situation. And then you have everybody that knows everything and is like telling you what they should do.
Yeah, I will say I think about 80% or more of the comments were really positive toward her. I mean, they were like, this was karma, this was meant to be, like God was watching out for her. This guy got it and he got it good kind of thing.
Mhm.
But some of those comments, as we were discussing, Lizzie, were absolutely shocking. And I'm telling you, these myths have got to be put to rest. I saw so many people commenting that she must not have been good in the bedroom, that she must not have been satisfying him. That one of them even said, like, the other woman was more fit. And sometimes they just want that kind of a muscle. Other people were just saying that people just need sort of an outside affair or that she wasn't treating him well. Let me tell you something. As two women who have endured cheating men, cheating is like crack, okay? The act of cheating itself is so illicit and exciting. It'd be like you going out and having some sort of illicit drug or whatever your illicit dopamine center of choice is. That's what cheating is. And so not only are you having an extramarital affair, but you're getting all of that excitement that goes along with it. Do not turn around to a woman or a man who have been slapped in the face by somebody's betrayal and then say it was probably them. Because I'm telling you, people who cheat, if they really just wanted to have better sex or a better partner or someone with more muscle tone or whatever all these comments said, they would probably leave their partner first and then go pursue whatever their needs were. The fact that this guy is having this office spicy affair, it shows a lot more about his character. And it is so cruel to start making assumptions that somehow this woman wasn't meeting his needs. Because I and Lizzie both know so many people who are fantastic people who do anything for their spouse, who have endured them through thick and thin, who would take care of them in their old age, who probably have taken care of them when they were sick, taking care of their children, etc., etc. And if that spouse would have said, listen, I need more from you, I'm lacking something, this person would have bent over backwards to make sure that happened. So to say that somehow that person is failing and so this person had to go have an illicit affair is cruel. And I was shocked at how many times that was mentioned in these comments. People, wake up. That is a huge myth, and that needs to be debunked immediately because you are re-victimizing a victim.
Yeah. Well said. I think Deana and I could both say we're both very passionate about it because we've been on the other end. And this story does trigger not just me and Deana, but I'm sure there's a lot of other women and possibly men too that can really feel this pain, and maybe it triggered their past emotion, even if they feel like they've moved on. It did a little bit for me because I could remember like the text messages once she found the truth. Jane found out the truth that Rex was married to me for a long time while he was still seeing her and he was living with me, blah, blah, blah. And then when I found out the truth, and then when Jane found out the truth, and then we're all collaborating on our stories, I remember the deep sense of the pain that I went through. I mean, obviously the betrayal. I still had a hard time wrapping my head around everything. Like, what is truth? What wasn't truth? What was good? What wasn't good? Like Deana said, it probably was a good thing I compartmentalized. And that's what my therapist said, because then I could kind of think of the good that was there. I wouldn't take him back to find some more of that good for sure. But it hit really deep, and I think it triggered me a little bit. I don't know who else may have been triggered by this. And I'm sure a lot of us probably sat back and thought in an awful way, thank you, Jesus. I wasn't in that situation that everybody in the world would see. Now, that's not fair to the wife, because I still would not wish that on anybody, because you're talking about just the beginning phases of all the emotions that you have to go through and walk through. It's going to be a long journey for sure, whatever happens at the end.
Yeah. So what do you think, Lizzie? Like for women like you and me, it's been a while since we've been
Mhm.
through this. But what about those people that have come out of situations where they were deeply betrayed and they are being triggered by these, announcements, and they can't stop reading everything and they can't stop dwelling on it and they can't stop thinking about their own pain. I mean, what do you think they could do practically to just help themselves not to re-trigger when these things come up?
I think a good thing to do is it's okay to turn it all off. Turn off all this social media because it's everywhere still. I mean, I literally opened up our Facebook page, the Surviving Toxic Relationships, and I mean, it was right there over and over and over on the feed. So I think number one, if you are definitely triggered because of your own pain of betrayal, first of all, you might need to recognize it. Why am I really triggered? Why am I really intense about this situation? And I remember the whole Micah Miller thing I went through because I couldn't stop thinking about my friend Christy, who was murdered by her husband. There comes a point that sometimes you do have to shut that off and first acknowledge this did trigger me. This did really stir up some emotions I thought were really dormant. And if anything, it's a good time to probably maybe sit a little quietly to the things that give you peace and help you find your balance. For me, it's my faith in the Lord. It's also my journaling. Those things kind of help me rebalance myself when I find myself triggered with emotions. Probably not watching TV because it's everywhere on TV. And then you're like, well, what can I do? If you're a streaming person, just turn on Netflix and watch Netflix or something else that you like to watch that may not be part of the mainstream news media or whatever else that could bring those things back up, because anything you can do to kind of quiet your space until you find yourself balanced again will definitely give you a head start. What do you think, Deana?
Yeah, no, I agree with all of those things. I think we can sometimes re-traumatize ourselves
Yes.
by constantly revisiting ground zero, so to speak. We just keep going back to it. We just keep going back to it. We just keep, and we have a life to live. We have, a family. We have people who need us. We have things that we can do to become different people and make ourselves more balanced and more happy and more settled in life. So I agree with that 1000%. Just you take a break and move on with your life. And if you need to talk to somebody, though, there could be a reason. There could be a reason why you're re-traumatized when these things happen. And that could be that maybe you skipped some steps in the healing cycle. Maybe you never really got to the end of that healing, or maybe you have some stored trauma. That's where I think EMDR is such a wonderful exercise. And so going to a therapist or trauma specialist and finding some of the tools that they have to help release trauma that is stored in your brain so that you can get past it, let it process, and move on. So if you're just traumatized for a short time and you're able to kind of shut everything down, move past it, and you're fine, that's normal. But if it really takes you all the way back to ground zero and you find yourself weeping and grieving and going right back to that area, you might need to really think about rehealing no matter how much time has passed.
Yeah. May just need, like you said, a different avenue to kind of approach it. And sometimes I think it's good for those things to kind of bubble up because then you
Mm-hmm.
realize I still have some healing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, hopefully, you won't get triggered like that. I was triggered, but it was just, I could feel that past pain when, that text message that was sent from Rex to everybody. And there was a lot of humiliation. You feel
Yeah, and let's talk
degraded.
about that. Let's talk about that, Lizzie, because
Okay.
this text message, and we don't have to probably go into the whole thing, but let's talk about it because this text message was sent by Rex right after was caught. Right after he was caught, because thankfully Jane believed us and she immediately divorced him and sent him packing. And so then he sends a text message, and supposedly, I guess his motive was to let myself and you and all my children and his sister know why he had done this, and that there was a reason that he had been married to you for almost a year while building an entire new family in another city and living a double life, but he had good reason. That was so re-traumatizing because it was exactly what this Andy guy did by having this affair and making it seem like this is something that, I know there's controversy on whether his comments were really from him or not.
Yeah.
I've heard both, that the comments that he sent out to explain what he did were not really accurate, and I've heard that they were, so it's hard to know. But
It's hard to
essentially, if
know
they,
what's going on at this point. Yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
but no, it's okay. But essentially, when he's talking about it, all he talks about is himself, how he shouldn't have been called out in a public place, how he's broke and now his job's affected. And I mean, it's me, 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 me. And so with this whole text from Rex and Lizzie. So here's a text message. And remember, this is Rex after he's caught building a whole family with this other woman. And before Lizzie and I caught up to her, and I'm sure you guys have heard the story, she already married him. And now he's sending something to all of us. We did not ask him why he did anything. We never wanted to talk to him again, but this is what he sends. Deana and Elizabeth. And then he's got his children on there. I'm addressing this in the order that each of you came into my life. Deana was perfect. She was my first love. She was a good mother and wife. I suppose her only fault was loving me. I'm so very sorry for the pain I have caused you. To my children, I love each of you with all my heart. I am so sorry for the pain I've caused you. Elizabeth, I did care for you. I am sorry for the pain I put you through. I did meet Jane while we were married. What I didn't count on was falling head over heels in love with her. I have destroyed a beautiful soul with Jane, but I want you all to know that I love her with my heart and soul. Now, okay, sorry, I'll get to the end. Then he says, I have lived a life of lies. Meeting Jane has made me really see what I am lacking and that I need to fix me.
I'm sorry, now I can laugh, but it was awful. It was awful. So imagine I get this along with his other two ex-wives, along with all four of his children, which were my stepchildren, along with his sisters. And I was pretty much, I didn't love you.
Yeah, Deana, you were this and that. Jane, head over heels in love with you. Oh my gosh, couldn't help it. Oh, Lizzie, I cared for you. I mean, the idea was, and if you look into his brain, the idea was, I had to do this. Okay. And that's why those comments that people make about, oh, they must not have been good enough in bed. Oh, they must not have been this or that. Oh, they must not have, whatever. Those comments that people make are such bull, because a narcissist, and in his case, Rex's case, a sex addict, they are always looking for the next thrill. And they want it to be an illicit affair because that's where it becomes a thrill. It's not
Yeah.
because their spouse did anything wrong. But here he is trying to make it look like he just had to be with somebody else because he cared for you. However, this other woman was the love of his life and the one that's going to help make him realize that he's lived a life of lies and he's betrayed everybody. But he had to do that. And that's what I had to drill home, to myself and to Lizzie when I looked at it. He had to make it look like there was some reason that he had to have this affair. And there was nothing he could have pinned on Lizzie. She went, I mean, you guys, if you knew the stuff that she did for him, she went above and beyond in her relationship with him. This woman drained her retirement account to make sure that they were okay. This woman took care of him when he had bilateral knee replacement surgery. This woman took care of him when he was battling a chronic illness, which severely affected anything he could do to make her happy in the bedroom. So she literally head over heels took care of him in every way possible and would have done that for the rest of his life. And then he tells her this. So that's why, you guys, you have to be so careful not to re-victimize and re-traumatize the victim. And again, I'm not speaking to those of you out there that get it. I'm speaking to those of you out there that would actually have this idea that somehow it must have been that person's fault, because nobody would go have an affair unless their spouse wasn't pleasing them or wasn't making them happy. Most people that have an affair, they're just chasing that little sparkly bunny around. They're enjoying that.
I
And
like
that's
how
what
you
this
said that.
case.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said that any better. That's well done, Deana. I mean,
Just
very
makes me mad.
thorough. It does.
It still makes me mad.
This whole thing still kind of, like I said, it still triggers those emotions. So if you've been triggered in all this, we're saying we get it, we understand, and we all have to put ourselves in a place that we can feel our peace, our surrounding and peace and everything. Just remember, you're not alone, and hopefully you guys can relate to this. Share this with somebody to let them know, hey, you're not alone if you're in these situations. Let them know they are loved. And we really appreciate you taking the time for Talk It Out Tuesday. I hope you have a great day.
Much.